its beef from another supplier.
Imagine 500 volts of electricity running through your body. Every New Wilmington police officer has felt the shock of a taser, and now the officers are armed with them. As part of their certification with the weapons, every officer attended a training session where they endured a taser's shock. Police say they will provide officers with a safer way to apprehend attackers.
A New Wilmington official shows the county line how one person can truly make a huge difference in a small town. The county line's Nikki Pizar shares the story of a local public figure who keeps the streets safe and reaches out to the community.
The 2008 presidential election quickly
With the voting registration deadline quickly approaching, we're having some technical difficulties. Now, some people still have questions about the voting process, and Mercer County Election Director Jeff Greenberg tells the County Line's Jordan Emma Early about his role in making sure elections are organized and demonstrates the electronic voting machine.
I was figuring.
Please report to the press box to retrieve your appendage. They must have lost this parking further from the stadium and walking in.
Remember, if there's ever an emergency, we meet here at the bottom of the driveway.
And I'll get the emergency disaster kit out of the kitchen.
Once we're all together, then we'll decide what to do.
But what about Fido?
What about Fido? The Lawrence County Humane Society reminds you to include your pets in your disaster planning. Make sure that your pets have identification tags that include your phone number. To find out more about how to protect your pets in a disaster, contact the Lawrence County Humane Society.
Come on! This way! Who is that guy? I don't know! Hurry up! He's right behind us! I know! Come on, get up!
7 years ago.
Think history is a little scary? Then log on to loc.gov and see how much fun it can be. The Library of Congress at loc.gov.
What do you got there, Dave? Looks like someone's thunder thighs. They must have lost them playing in the snow with their kids. Let's get back to work.
We apologize for those technical difficulties. Now we're going to send it over to Chief Piccirillo.
The borough of New Wilmington may seem like a small, quiet town, but according to the police chief, the town is often bustling with activity.
I mean, we're 1 square mile and there's nowhere else to go unless we start building up, straight up. And I don't see skyscrapers in our immediate future. What I do see happening is there's increased activity here.
And along with increased activity comes more responsibilities. Police Chief Carmen Piccirillo says his job includes a little bit of everything.
I'm a patrol officer, I'm a detective, I'm a police chief, I'm a supervisor, I'm a juvenile officer, I'm a liaison, I'm a training officer, I'm a firearms instructor. Men supposedly can't multitask very well, and I'm no exception, so I really have to try to balance my activities the best I can and prioritize them.
Piccirillo made it his priority to institute some changes when he became police chief a little over 5 years ago, including updating the equipment in the police department and providing more training exercises for his officers. But more importantly, he continues to help decrease violence in the schools by working with and counseling students.
One of them in particular I can think of who was a big problem. He's now in a law enforcement program. And he said, whether it's accurate or not, he said a great deal of that had to do with the counseling sessions that I did with him.
Piccirillo takes his work seriously. However, he is still able to approach his job with a good sense of humor.
It's going to be about 12. 11.232.
So I guess the big question is, are you ever going to retire?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But if I feel like I do now, 10 years from now, I'll still be working.
From stoplights to students to safety, Chief Piccirillo will continue to meet the growing needs of this community. In New Wilmington, I'm Nikki Pizar for the County Line.
With the voting registration deadline quickly approaching, some people still have questions about the voting process. Mercer County Election Director Jeff Greenberg tells the County Line's Jordan Emma Early about his role in making sure elections are organized and demonstrates the electronic voting machines.
The 2008 presidential election quickly approaching, registered voters may have questions on how and where to vote. Appointed Elections Director of Mercer County, Jeff Greenberg, talks about what his job specifically entitles and demonstrates the electronic voting system used in Mercer County.
I oversee 450 poll workers. I oversee a staff of machine custodians, a small staff. I oversee a staff of office workers. And we are responsible for everything from registering voters to making sure the machines are ready, to getting the ballots. For 15 years prior to coming to the county, I worked for the Herald newspaper in Sharon. I told her on the phone what we needed. If we wanted to vote, I'd just go down. We voted. Just start voting here. And it tells us how many we're allowed to vote for. If I vote for too many, I'm allowed to vote for 2 here. It will tell me. I already checked the maximum selections, so I can return to the ballot, and it takes me back to the first 2 I already picked. And it tells you your ballot has been cast. Thank you for voting.
I'm Jordan Emma Early, reporting for County Line.
Although Pennsylvania's primary isn't until April, the deadline for registration is quickly approaching. You can register now online by going to www.votespa.com, or you can register by mailing in a voter registration application. The deadline is March 24th.
Plans for the new racetrack in Lawrence County continue to move forward. County officials have already approved plans for the racetrack and casino in Mahoning Township, and it's now the township officials' turn to give their recommendations. The track is expected to bring 4 million visitors to the county each year. Construction is expected to begin in spring and should last about 1 year. Coming up next on the County Line, Westminster is buzzing with activity this weekend. We've got details on all the excitement.
And video journalist Jeremiah Patterson keeps you up to date on what's happening online with Titan Radio.
And Titantown sports reporter Jordan Emma Early sits down with swim coach Rob Clamett and talks to him about last weekend's PAC championship meet. Stay tuned, more County Line is on the way.
Inflating my tires burns less fuel and saves me money on gas. Yeah, I'm saving Mother Nature from pollution, but more importantly, she saved me $11. Ow!
Environmental defense. Get green.
By keeping my car regularly tuned, I save money on gas and repairs. That also means cleaner air. Feels good to help save the cash, planet.
Environmental defense. Get green. For more tips, go to getgreen.com.
Westminster College has 1,400 traditional students working to earn their degrees. But across the country, half of all undergraduate students are anything but traditional. This week I looked at how Westminster serves this other half. The first thing most people think of when they think of a college is 18 to 21-year-olds learning the skills and knowledge that will propel them to a successful career. However, there's another part of Westminster College that is thought of less often, and this woman makes it tick. Carol Yova is the director of the Lifelong Learning Program at Westminster, which brings many non-traditional students into campus.
The Lifelong Learning Program is a combination of programs. It is for high school students. You can go to high school and go to take college classes at the same time. That program is called the Dual Enrollment Program. And any high school student can find out about that by going to their guidance office or calling the Lifelong Learning Office. We also have certification, education certification, both elementary and secondary education. We have
graduate work in education isn't the only type of program offered to adults. Courses are also offered to those who already have enough to keep them busy.
We also have the true lifelong learning students who tend to be over the age of 23. They have responsibilities beside themselves outside their home, such as they work at least part-time Most of our students work at least 40 hours a week. Many of them work 60 hours a week, and they still take classes.
And for some students, taking the same classes as traditional students makes it that much more interesting.
Interesting being much older than the rest of the students in the classes. You have a different perspective. I think you come with the ideal of wanting to learn as opposed to, oh, look, this is just a continuation of high school. So any other LLP students I meet in regular classes end up being much more interested and much more apt to do the work. And that just comes with being older.
According to Yova, a major motivation for LLP students is a change in their lives, and the program itself is undergoing some changes too. Yova retires at the end of the month and will be replaced by Westminster alumna Elizabeth Hines, who hopes to continue Yova's work.
I would like to continue the tradition. We're always looking for new opportunities for other places to be in touch with adults, for them to understand the opportunities that are here, and just keep going what we do, which is a very good thing.
Yova will end her tenure as the program's director on February 29th.
And Carol Yova isn't the only one retiring. After 35 years of service at Westminster College, Dr. James Perkins is also retiring. Reporter Laurel Sprague tells us about his plans after retirement.
For the past 35 years, Dr. James Perkins has been known as a professor to students. However, during that time, he wrote over 13 books, 8 of which were about Robert Penn Warren, a famous writer from Kentucky, which is also Perkins' home state.
I'm from Kentucky, so was Warren, and I had not read him except for All the King's Men up until that conference in 1989. And since then, I've written 3 books on him, and I'm editing the letters of Robert Penn Warren in 5 volumes. So what I did is wandered into that conference and found a life's work. Unfortunately, it was a little late in my life, so it's going to continue.
Despite his accomplishments, Perkins has made out a 6-page list of things to do after his retirement in May. But the most important thing for him to complete isn't even on his list at all.
I have 2 grandsons, and I want to spoil them as much as possible. I want to wind them up tight and walk out and leave them rowdy for their parents. I found that grandparents or grandchildren...
O-L-O. Okay. And voter turnout today was predicted about 30% for the county. How is your precinct doing?
Theatre Westminster opens their first show of the semester tonight in Beagley Theatre with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The show continues tomorrow and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and on Sunday at 2:30. Tickets are available at Westminster's box office.
And while Beagley is packed this weekend, Orr Auditorium is expected to fill up as well. Westminster's annual dance theater show began tonight, showcasing the dance talents of Westminster students through hip-hop, ballet, jazz, and a few senior solos. The shows run tomorrow at 8 o'clock, tonight also beginning at 8 o'clock, and Saturday at 2 o'clock. Tickets are available at the door.
Now, if you miss a story on Titan Radio or on the county line, you can always look for it on our website.
Titan Radio VJ Jeremiah Patterson has this week's news from TitanRadio.net.
Good evening, I'm Jeremiah Patterson in the Titan Radio newsroom. Here's what's happening on TitanRadio.net this week. A Volant man faces a long list of charges after allegedly using a crowbar to break through the glass door of a Mercer County home last weekend and threatening the people inside. Police say it happened in Farrell, but it was New Wilmington police who arrested 35-year-old Matthew Duddy while driving through the borough. New Wilmington police say Duddy was bleeding from a severe cut to one of his hands, while a bloody crowbar was also found in his vehicle. He faces 17 counts of terroristic threats, simple assault, criminal trespass, harassment, and witness intimidation. Duddy was arraigned on Monday and released on a $35,000 bond. State police in Mercer County are now trying to piece together what happened after finding the body of a local man who went missing last month. Troopers say they received information this week that led them to Howard Urquhart's body found in a wooded area of Green Township. Search crews found the body of the 60-year-old man on Wednesday. Investigators will wait for the results of an autopsy. More transparency is coming to state and local government records. Governor Ed Rendell, backed by State Representative Michelle Brooks, signed a law last week in which agencies will have 5 days to reply to a resident or organization's request for records. Officials who respond too late could face a fine up to $500. Log on to TitanRadio.net for all your local news updates, as well as a live stream of Titan basketball playoff action. I'm Jeremiah Patterson for your Titan Radio web update.
Batteries and flashlight. Okay, you know what? That guy? Look. Okay, girls, at 3 o'clock.
What is he looking at? They're looking at us. What do you think?
Oh, that's so obvious. Captain Obvious has scored again. Over here, say something.
Oh, he's really gonna down.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Honey, would you get me some ice cream?
Ice cream.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some things you just can't do without. It happens every night, all across America.
No one wants to be in debt, but the truth is that most of us are. For 51 years, Consumer Credit Counseling has been in the business of helping people find their way out of debt. The professionals at Consumer Credit Counseling want to help you move on with your life. With their local office in Sharon, it's easy to get started. Visit their website, cccservices.com. That's CCCservices.com. Consumer Credit Counseling, financial help in any crisis. You can control your debt. Consumer Credit Counseling will show you how.
What's up, sports fans, and welcome to tonight's edition of Titan Town Sports. I'm your host, Chris Norris. Dave Gregg has the night off. Thanks for tuning in. Westminster College swimming team is one of the hardest working groups on campus. Up at the crack of dawn for practice every morning, spending more time swimming than some people spend at Starbucks. Their hard work and dedication has paid off, being 4-time PAC champions and having numerous All-American swimmers come through the program. Now, this past weekend at the PAC Swimming Championships held at Grove City College, the Titan swimmers finished in second place behind Grove City, unable to defend their title for the first time since 2004. However, Coach Clamet's squad had plenty to boast about, with many strong individual performances by swimmers like Megan Meyer, Chris Leberger, and Ashley Linnelli. Titan Town sports reporter Jordan Emma Early had the chance to sit down with Coach Clamet recently and recap the wet and wild weekend at the PAC Swimming Championships.
So what kind of pressure is that going into PAC finals with the men being ranked 25th in the nation?
Sometimes whenever you go through all the dual meets, when you swim against another team, getting to the championships, it's sort of a different type of a scoring system. When we're swimming just one team, it's a lot different than swimming a whole bunch of teams. And when you get into the championships, it takes a lot of individuals to do very well and to do their best and to score high. And then it obviously depends on what the other teams are doing. So there's pressure, but it's also a different type of a swim meet. There was pressure on both teams because we're defending champions, and that always adds to pressure, but that's fun, and it's nice to have sometimes because you kind of rise up to the occasion.
Did the team meet your expectations this year at PACs?
Well, yes and no. Again, it's 40 individuals that need to perform their best, and not every year that's going to happen. And for the most part, it was a great weekend. A lot of people on the team performed very, very well at very, very high level, and those expectations were definitely met. They really swam well and did the best they could. We were a little disappointed we didn't win the championship again and defend our titles, but the individual performances made it good.
Speaking of great individual performances, this week's PAC SAC Athlete of the Week is Chris Leberger. Leberger successfully defended his 100 and 200 meter breaststroke titles last weekend at the PAC Championships. Both of his times were NCAA Division III provisional qualifying times. Leberger was also part of the second place 200 and 400 meter medley relay teams. The word momentum is defined as the speed or force of forward movement of an object. That object would be the Titan men and women's basketball team, who both are heading to the PAC playoffs next Tuesday. The Titan Hoopers were in action last night at Buzzard Gymnasium against the Bethany College Bison, looking for a win and some momentum to carry into the playoffs. There's the women getting ready, red hot as of late. Big win Saturday against Teal. Starting things off, Bethany, here's later in the game, Tara Harris for 2 with under 5 minutes to play, puts the Bethany Bison up by 5. However, Amy Dolzak hits her second free throw right here to put Westminster within 3 points with 1:25 to play. Titans still trail by 3. Time for one more play. Dolzak for 3, ties it at 50. But in the transition, Susanna Cartland for Bethany scores with 5 seconds to go. Bethany goes up by 2 and holds on to win it 53-50. And the men also taking on the Bethany Bison. Coach O's squad looking for an upset here. Later on in the game, this is where it gets exciting for the Titans. Chauncey Whitlow steals right here. Slam, bam, thank you, man. Put Westminster up by 2 with under 5 to play. Chauncey pumped up, getting his team back in this one. Bethany's Brody Jackson drives the lane for 2 points. Bison pulls within 2. Titans up by 2, under 10 seconds to play in this one. Murray misses his second free throw with 2 seconds left. Brody Jackson brings it down court, 2 seconds, 1 second, throws up a prayer, gets fouled at the buzzer by Chauncey Whitlow. So all he needs to do here is make both free throws to win it. So he'll head to the line, pressure's on. Brody Jackson, this kid's the real deal too. All he needs is 2. Pressure's on, misses the first one. Bethany falls to the Titans, 79-77. Titans pull the upset. Now here's the playoff picture for the Titans. Both squads are the number 4 seed and will open up at home on Tuesday night. The men will take on Thomas More at 8 o'clock, while the women's rival depends on the winner of the W&J Bethany matchup that will take place this weekend. March Madness is the biggest time of year for NCAA college basketball, but many people forget about the February frenzy. That's the most important time of the year for area high school basketball teams looking to make their mark in the playoffs. Now, 2 Lawrence County teams are destined to do just that as they prepare for the PIAA state playoffs. The Union Scotties fell Tuesday night in the Whippio Class A semifinals to Sarah Catholic, but their season is far from over. Union will enter the playoffs as either a number 3 or 4 seed, pending the results of the Sarah Catholic versus Wilkinsburg game tomorrow night. Also in the mix is the Newcastle Lady Canes, who also lost recently in the Whippio tournament, but they will head into the PIAA playoffs as well. Tournament tips off February 29th. And finally, we head into extra innings tonight as baseball season is upon us yet again. The Pirates and the Indians opened their spring training camp this past week in Florida. Nigel Morgan and Nate McLouth are duking it out for that center field spot for the Buccos, while the Tribe is looking to defend their AL Central Division title. Pittsburgh Penguins are anxiously awaiting the return of Sidney Crosby, who's been out with an ankle injury since mid-January. The Pens, however, have won 5 of their last 7, and Crosby could be back by next week. He has been practicing in full gear with the team. And for the few Cleveland faithful out there, including myself, quarterback Derek Anderson very close to re-signing with the Cleveland Browns. Browns are looking to sign their Pro Bowl quarterback to a three-year deal, but may have to settle for a 1 year at $2.52 million. Also, Jamal Lewis recently re-signed with the Browns, so it's a big pickup. That wraps it up for this week's Titan Town Sports. I'm Chris Norris. Stay tuned. More County Line is on the way.
Batteries and flashlight. Okay, you know what? That guy? Look. Okay, girls at 3 o'clock.
What is he looking at? They're looking at us. What do you think?
Oh, it's so obvious. Captain Obvious has scored again. Oh, what do you want to say something?
Oh, he's really running down.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Honey, would you get me some ice cream?
Ice cream?
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some things you just can't do without. It happens every night, all across America.
No one wants to be in debt, but the truth is that most of us are. For 51 years, Consumer Credit Counseling has been in the business of helping people find their way out of debt. The professionals at Consumer Credit Counseling want to help you move on with your life. With their local office in Sharon, it's easy to get started. Visit their website, cccservices.com. That's CCCservices.com. Consumer Credit Counseling, financial help in any crisis. You can control your debt. Consumer Credit Counseling will show you how.
According to our partners at the Newcastle News, the post of second deputy for the Lawrence County Treasurer's Office could be filled soon. County Treasurer Richard Rapone has already received several calls of interest. The job was left vacant after John Caron abruptly quit after only 1 month on the job. Caron said his resignation had nothing to do with Rapone's controversial firing of bookkeeper Megan Caffro earlier this month.
County residents experienced poverty firsthand by participating in a simulation sponsored by the Lawrence County Community Action Partnership. Participants were grouped into families and were told to do the best they could with limited resources. Some participants were even victims of robberies. The simulations were conducted to show the partnership's employees the nuances and frustrations of the people they serve.
That's about all the time we have for the County Line this week.
Tune in next week for more news from around the county. David Gregg will be back with Titantown Sports, as always.
And until then, we'll see you next time.
Good night.